Hello, Rob here, and welcome to R&B Reviews. As many of you know, last weekend officially ended the summer blockbuster season, so what I usually do is I usually do some sort of video about what I thought was the best, the worst, and the most disappointing movies of the summer blockbuster season. And I'm going to be doing a format that I haven't done in a long time. I'm going to be doing a top 5 list of what I thought were the best movies of the summer. Now, first off, let me give you a little bit about my opinion on what I thought about this past summer blockbuster season. What's kind of interesting is most of these movies that I saw, now I don't know if it's me, but it feels like this year there was a ton of movies that were competing against each other, and it was just really hard for me to go watch and review all of them. In the past, it seems like me and Brendan or Dave would go to these movies, we'd be able to catch every single movie, we were able to review them and get them up, but for some reason it feels like there was just a whole lot going on. For some reason there was always some sort of flaw. Like there was some movies that were really good and then something kind of let me down. There were some movies where I thought they were just okay. And so that's pretty much my thought of the movies. There were a lot of good ones, but for some reason, especially with the big budget ones, there was always one element that let me down for one reason or another. Okay, now let's go on to my list. Number 5, the 5th movie that I thought was the best this summer was Despicable Me 2. I thought it was a lot better than the first film, and honestly, I thought it was the best animated film of this summer. It was very well paced. I thought it was very funny, and I thought this one had a much better storyline than the first one, and I think the gags really tied in very well, and the Minions were given more to do. There's some controversy of whether that was a good thing or not. There's some people are like, oh, I hate the Minions, that they took away from the story. But for me, I thought they were among the best moments of the movie. And I thought what also worked was that there was stuff that could be enjoyed by everyone. There was visual and silly stuff for the kids and teens. There was adult humor that will go right over the kids' heads. And many animated films, I think, are really... There's those that can be enjoyed by children, but most of those are stuff that the adults really have to try and sit through, and it can be challenging. But this one, I thought, was loads of fun for everybody. Number 4, The Heat. This movie stars Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy as they team up to track down a drug lord in Boston, and I thought this was the best comedy of the summer. It followed the model of the usual buddy cop comedies where Bullock plays an uptight agent and McCarthy is this foul-mouthed street cop and the two of them, they worked very well together despite their different personalities, and I thought they were really funny together as well as out on their own. I think the movie did a good job at balancing dry humor with the sarcastic humor, and there was some good action moments as well as some very serious, quiet ones that gave the characters rounded personalities and that you could take an interest in rather than just seeing them, use them as something to just get laughs from. The movie, I thought, was a little bit long. There were times when there were some moments that seemed like they were dragged in just for the sake of a quick laugh, like the scene where Bullock and McCarthy are trying to save a choking customer at Denny's, which I felt didn't really fit in with the rest of the movie. But I thought The Heat was hilarious. I thought it was a fun action cop comedy. Number 3. Now this movie I would probably pick as the most underrated movie of the summer. It's The Wolverine. For one thing, I thought it was a big improvement over the last Wolverine movie, which was X-Men Origins, and many comic book fans felt really let down by it for some reason. I don't know if it was because, with the whole thing with the Avengers, and the Dark Knight movies, but really, I thought it was not really a comic book superhero action movie. I saw it more as a character drama. For one thing, it was very personal. Logan, or Wolverine, has been haunted by the events that happened in X-Men 3: The Last Stand, and he's kind of given up on life, and he's kind of tempted to find some way to end his immortality. And the movie focused on Wolverine's pain, and the film asks the audience the question, what is an honorable death, and is it okay to take one's own life? The action scenes were also refreshing because it looked like they really didn't rely too much on CGI or huge explosions. They featured mostly one-on-one combat with actual people participating in the fights. But if there is a flaw with the Wolverine, I would say that it's probably one of the film's villains, which is, her name is the Viper. For me, she really didn't fit in with the rest of the story. I kind of felt like she was out of place. I felt like she didn't fit the mood. And because, most of the acting and most of the tone of this movie is very low-key and quiet, and she kind of reminded me of a throwback from the characters from superhero movies from the 80s or 90s where they were very, shall we say, hammy. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie for what it was. I thought it wasn't as good as the X-Men 2, but I thought it was better than X-Men Origins and better than X-Men 3. Number 2, World War Z. Now this was the super horror thriller that starred Brad Pitt as a former agent who's asked to come back to the fold and find out why there's this zombie plague going on. And unlike many horror movies, I did not find this one to be very predictable. I was constantly on the edge of my seat wondering what would happen to the characters and wonder what direction it would go in. And I think this was helped by the shadowy photography, well thought out setups, and developed characters that the audience could relate to. And unlike many apocalyptic movies that we got this past year, we had very little voiceover to set up what happened, because oftentimes, like in movies like After Earth or Oblivion, they really beat the audience over the head with details. But this one, the director uses montages of news reports as well as shots of people falling ill in order to show just enough so that we understand what's going on in order to follow the movie. But my favorite part about World War Z was the director did not use the shaky cam just to be artsy or for the hell of it. Like, for example, in crowd scenes where there's confusion, he puts it to great use. It shows the confusion, people running into each other, zombies starting to form. I thought it was put to good use. So overall, I thought World War Z was a very suspenseful action, horror, sci-fi picture, and I really enjoyed this one. Now, my number one pick for the best movie of the year is probably going to be a controversial one, and just to warn you, there is a spoiler. I'll let you know when it's coming. I'll probably give you like maybe a 30-second warning. Alright, my number one pick for the summer is Iron Man 3. The film was not just an action blockbuster, it was also a character drama mystery thriller, and I really liked the film that the film took some risks. Shane Black, who wrote and directed this movie, he kind of followed the Batman movie model where he went with a more real-world villains in a real-world situation where we could see, it wasn't just basically two, super villains and a hero, in costumes fighting each other. We kind of got, and we also got to see what has been going on with Tony Stark after the Avengers and how it's been affecting him. I mean, a complaint that I've read from some people was that, well, here's the thing. I've been hearing complaints from both sides, and it's kind of, it's like you can't please anybody. On the one hand, people are like, oh, Iron Man, he's only a superhero because he's got his suit and he's nothing without it. And there's some people on the other side complaining that they're like, oh, he was only Iron Man in Iron Man 3 for like 10-15 minutes. This isn't a real Iron Man movie, blah, blah, blah. Well, I like that he had to see what he had to do without the suit. That's what I liked about it. He had to use his brain to get out of situations. And so I really like that they went with that approach. Okay, now this is the part where I'm going to do a 30-second spoiler, so if you have not seen Iron Man 3, if you want to turn the volume down for 30 seconds until I'm done, you can do so starting now. I know a lot of people were pissed off about the twist involving the Mandarin not being the real villain, and at first I was kind of pissed off because the trailers and, all that, the promotion was like, Ben Kingsley is the main villain, he's the Mandarin. But something you got to remember is, who was the real villain? It was Guy Pearce's character. It was right from the beginning. He was the villain because, he's pissed off that Tony Stark, backed off and, didn't meet up with him like he was supposed to, so this was kind of like his revenge. I was disappointed. I can imagine diehard comic book fans being disappointed, but, who was the real villain? That's my point. And getting to the action scenes and the CGI, the action scenes, the special effects, they were fantastic, and I thought they were really good. So I thought Iron Man 3 was a very cerebral, fun action movie. I thought it was better than the second one. Not as good as the first one, but it was a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I give it credit for being different. I really enjoyed it. Now I'm going to open the floor to you guys. What did you guys think were the best movies of the summer? What were the worst movies? What disappointed you? Please post your comments.